majority of American people do not want it enforced and are resisting its enforcement. That being so, the orderly thing to do under our form of government is to abolish a law which cannot be enforced, a law which the people of the country do not want enforced.
Best intro yet.
I was probably like,
awesome. Great.
Looking for
right. Oh,
okay.
We're doing a Superman, are we?
Yes, something I didn't know about.
It was
What's
quiet,
going on?
and I was like, "There's usually trouble when it's quiet like that. That's when you go check on your kids." And I go,
Yeah, exactly right. What's going on? So welcome to the show. We're recording live from KCEI Studios. We're so happy for you guys to be here today. I'm Kent Williams. Along with me is my buddy old pal Zach and Caitlin down below. How are you guys tonight?
What's going on?
cold.
It is cold. Oh my gosh.
Cold.
How dumb was it that we had school?
Obligatory Kansas small talk or Southwest Kansas small talk of, well, we'll take whatever moisture we can get.
That's right. That's right. There was a lot of talk on the internet, though, about why we had school, and some say it's because our superintendent's new and he's never had snow in Texas, and you know, so whatever.
That
to
would
me,
be kind
but
of cute.
yeah, there was a lot of talk about
innocent.
I didn't see many kids out walking though in it, so that made me happy as I was on my way to work. But
I feel like if your neighboring counties are canceling school, you should
probably
let someone advise you.
It was pretty nasty in the morning, but it did calm down and it cleared off. I don't know. That'd be a tough decision to make, wouldn't it?
No.
I mean, speaking
Cancel
of
school.
storms, what the fuck, Kansas? Kobach?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Right.
Come on.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
It's like they put a much lighter Republican up to go against a super Republican, and it's like all the Republicans wanted a super Republican. Maybe next time we should try putting a Democrat up. An idea. I mean,
I can't imagine people are like, what's important for Kansas? And then the answer was like, to bring lots of federal lawsuits to the federal government. Yes, that sounds great.
Yeah. Yes. He's to waste all of Kansas's resources on frivolous lawsuits.
I mean, he made the comment he's going to get up in the morning, have breakfast, open the newspaper, and look for ways to sue the federal government. You know, it's like, come on. You failed miserably as Secretary of State. You had no wins whatsoever. You wasted a ton of taxpayer dollars and were ordered to go to remedial law school, for heaven's sakes. And here we are again.
If conservatives are supposed to be more fiscally responsible, how is that?
Kobach is best described as political herpes. He just keeps coming back every now and then.
Yeah, and we're going to dive a little bit more into Kobach, KKKobach, later on in the show, and talk about his election. But there was a graph that came out, and I wish I had it with me. talking about the swing, there is a momentum for blue votes in Kansas that's growing, which is kind of weird to see. Especially out here in Southwest Kansas, sir. Like Jimmy Beard is a good election to talk about. He did better than any other Democrat I think ever has in the big first in his election. So it is swaying a little bit in Kansas, even though it's a lot slower than elsewhere in the country. But at the same time, it's different out here. We're a different kind of voter. I think that people that aren't voting Republican are voting for candidates, not so much political party. In Western Kansas, there's not a ton of Democrats out here. There are, but they're not organized. They don't donate to their candidates that are running out here in Western Kansas. They're really not involved, So I think we're in a weird time in politics in Kansas.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at it at the land-based map, and you see this map of the United States all the time, where it shows it just red and blue, but
Sure.
it counts all the land.
Sure.
And then you see the one in comparison of the people.
Yeah.
And Kansas is a microcosm of that exact same example.
It is.
Everything's red where there's a low population, because
Yeah.
there's a low population, and that's usually your red voters.
Yeah.
You guys might have saw it on the webpage. I had to make a meme about it because Kansas elects a Democratic governor, and it's not shocking because it's literally just 3 cities in a trench coat.
Mm-hmm.
Wichita, Kansas City, Topeka. You can count the college towns on there, Lawrence and Manhattan, if you want to, because they usually go Democratic. But yeah, it's your high populated areas that are the reason we end up with a Democratic governor. And Laura Kelly's barely a Democrat at best. I mean, I'll never forgive her. She co-sponsored the concealed carry without a license bill here in Kansas. So you no longer have to have any kind of a license at 21 years old to thought my dog was knocking a bag, and it's me. You don't have to have the support of the entire state, so therefore they don't try and get to the entire state. Laura Kelly didn't even come out here this time. She had no need to. She was just fine with giving that to Derek.
Well, and it's something to be said too about what the ballot. What helped her tremendously was there was a libertarian candidate and there was an independent candidate to choose from as well, and that helped with some of those Republican votes. The ones that didn't want to vote for Derek Schmidt had an outlet for that, because people out here aren't going to vote for a Democrat. It doesn't matter what the policies are, who the person is. It's just they're not going to. So they had that outlet for it, and we saw that in the Kobach race, in the Chris Mann race. Kobach got 40,000 more votes than Kelly did in his ballot position, but they didn't have the libertarian and an independent candidate. So I think that's something we need to expand our ballots and have more candidates, more choices, and increase the quality of candidates, not so much the party, but the quality of candidate that we have to choose from to lead us in Topeka.
So not to divert the conversation here, but you can tell we took a week off and we're just kind of chomping at the bit to get talking again. We completely glossed over our events, and
we're just getting fired up.
We're just. Well, it was an eventful election, and there was a lot of hope to be had, and there was some people who put a lot of work in, and didn't. I know you say Jimmy did better than any other candidate, but he still got blown away.
Sure,
It wasn't even I think he got beat by 12 points.
Well, but he smashed every other Democrat that's ever ran.
Yeah, absolutely.
Himself, but, that's the point. Is
imagine how close it could have been if they would have invested some resources out here and had an office out here and put some time and effort.
Because Jimmy was great. He was probably one of the better candidates.
Not knocking him as a candidate.
Oh gosh,
all.
no, not at all.
No, but the Democrats should be spending money on making sure Eastern Kansas knows who he is and
right.
what his
I'm just saying if they
policies
put a little bit of effort into it.
But we see that on both sides of it. Republicans, the talk that's out there right now is Mitch McConnell's ready to spend something like $14 million to knock Manchin off his seat. He pumped money into Arizona backing a candidate, then against a candidate, the same candidate, and then for the candidate again, and then he pulled it all together. It's a mess how these parties spend their money advertising. We're talking millions and millions of dollars that could be better spent, in my opinion, on pumping up their candidates or pumping up another party's candidates, because they think they're extreme and people won't vote for them if the extremism is front and center in their face. But, I think it has reverse effects too. For an example, Laura Kelly and the Brownback, all we heard about this election was Brownback, and Brownback wasn't even in this election.
Can't even fathom how many millions of dollars they spent on mailers alone.
Yeah.
Not even getting into the commercials. I have a stack of it. I should have grabbed it for the show.
Yeah.
But I have a stack of mailers up there from them. Some of the Laura Kelly ones don't even have her picture on it. It's just pictures of Derek Schmidt and Sam Brownback.
Yeah.
And it's just like, good God, Brownback's gone. He left Kansas, literally isn't here at all anymore. Gone.
And it obviously wasn't a selling point because people elected Kobach, and other, so it's.
What did she have to offer? She didn't do anything that she said she was going to do from her last election. She said she was going to declare the foster care system an emergency, which means it would have gotten emergency funding, and it has deteriorated under her. She combined that office with an elderly care office. I don't remember the exact name of it, but she's combining those offices, which means that there was 2 fundings, and now there's only 1. And so it's fewer resources. Cannabis. How many states are there now? 2. There's 2 states that haven't touched it: Texas and Kansas.
Like you were saying,
Colorado was like, "Oh, we're gonna do psychedelics."
Yeah, yeah.
You're still on marijuana. We're gonna move on.
We're really opening the game. So we're gonna talk more about Laura Kelly later on in the show. Like Zach said, we're kind of jumping around a little bit. We're excited to be back. Don't forget that you can help support us by swinging by buymeacoffee.com/CKZ show. Make sure you guys do all the things: like, share, subscribe, help us out, get us out there, let people know we're on, talking about all things Southwest, Western Kansas, Topeka, and the national politics. It's a personal, private conversation between friends about the world as we see it and the things that are on our minds. And so we're excited that you're here and with us. So over the next few weeks, we don't have an election, so we don't have any politicians scheduled to come see you. So we do want to know what you guys would like to see on this show. Do you want to see more nonprofits? Do you want to see those that represent nonprofits here on the show talking about their organizations? Do you want to see local politicians, state, national, more
Do you want us to
newsy
continue
stuff?
to cover the corruption rumors? Because a lot of it's just rumors.
Are you sick of seeing our faces? So let us know what you guys think.
We get a lot of people that reach out to us and want to tell us the story of some corruption going on,
man.
but they don't want anybody to know who's telling the story,
Right.
and that makes it real hard to tell it and be credible.
Yeah.
And we could. I have no problem sharing what's being told and what the rumors are and whatnot, but corroborating it is a challenge, and we have real jobs.
We can always offer opinions and shine a little bit of light on things, and we would love to talk about the things that you guys are sending in, but we do have to have a source so we can report on the things that you're telling us, more so than accusing everybody in our community. It seems like there's so much.
We all live together, and
so many things going on, and we want to talk about those things. Keep talking to us. Keep sending in those suggestions. Let us know what you want to see. If you want to see more of things, less of things, whatever you have on your mind for Garden City and Western Kansas, let us know. But anyway, what's going on this week? What do we have in Garden City, Zach? You want to lead us off with some events?
Yeah, we got the Blushing Artist. Bring your own beverage. Join Garden City Arts for a night of fun and painting. Participants will paint on a 14 by 8 stretch of canvas. No previous art experience is needed, as the instructor will provide easy to follow step by step instructions. To ensure a safe environment for participants, Garden City Arts will not provide refreshments during these classes, but you're welcome to bring your own. $30 for the class, $25 for members. Caitlin Guthrie, who she takes on so many different events at Garden City Arts,
80.
is a fantastic teacher. We're gonna post a link in the comments right now to buy tickets for that event if you so wish. That is this Friday, 7 to 9:30. Go have a drink, and yeah, it'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah, Katie Guthrie's pretty
I
awesome.
teach this class. My sister-in-law teaches that class.
Not Caitlin, not our Caitlin.
Join the downtown. Yeah, it's not me. It's not me. December 2nd at 7:15 p.m. The Town Vision team, along with the rest of the community, at Stevens Park for the annual tree lighting ceremony.
I always love it when they light the downtown. The Stevens Park looks so cool. It's such a great place to go take photos.
It is.
I
Absolutely.
agree. I love it. Go down there just to walk, no matter how cold it is, because it's beautiful.
It is. You know, you see a lot of people, a lot of photographers out every weekend, or towards the end of the week out there, as well. We've had some photos down there. It's been years since we've done it, but gosh, they do so much now down by the train station and back up 7th Street a little bit. So it's nice to see it expanding and getting bigger, and looking forward to the parade. Freezing. So what else is going on?
Again?
Zach, what'd you do this week? You got to get away. You got outside of town a little bit. You went to the IMAX. So without spoiling it for those that haven't seen it yet, what'd you do? How was it?
Anybody who knows me knows I had to go see Black Panther. Going that way.
Shameless plug.
Yeah.
They don't give us money, by the way.
Oh man, we'd love a little bit of that Disney money.
Yeah.
That'd buy a lot of coffee.
Yeah.
So I went to the IMAX in Wichita, which is a really cool theater. It's huge. It was a blast. But it was also a very humbling reminder of how cool of a theater we have here. Just because you can take a date for $40, see a movie, have all the snacks you could want, and still have money left over. And it was pretty easy to spend $100 at the theater for the IMAX, and it was just kind of a stark reminder of we keep things very affordable in our community. So the entertainment that we have, our zoo is free to walk through.
Yeah.
We have the Tally Trail. We are not a community that likes to spend a lot of money in town. We like to travel to do that, and we're just used to doing that. But our theater, I just wanted to give a little plug out to them and a reminder. There's not a lot of events going on right now. I perused Facebook for a little bit to see if there was any events that I needed to talk about. I could tell you to go to one of the many bars having events and whatnot. But don't forget about the theater. Spend some money with them.
Yeah.
That's my shameless plug that I have no reason to give outside of I appreciate having an affordable place to go see a good movie like Black Panther.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep, I'm excited to go see it here at the Sequoia 9. I wanted to wait a little bit for the crowds to die down because I'm sure it's still packed. But it had to be pretty cool to just sit in the IMAX. I wish the Sequoia would do one of the theaters with the recliner chairs, and
I'd like to see some upgrades.
Yeah, I think they could, affordably do that and still knock it out of the park. I think it needs it. You know what I mean?
I would like to see the city put a grant towards helping them do that if that's
Sure.
what needed. That's a community thing that just keeps, in the summer times. I remember being a kid and having enough money to go see a movie.
Yeah, you're right, Greg. We do spend money here, So maybe the state theater, get that back up and going and put an IMAX in there. Wouldn't that be pretty sweet?
Ooh, that would be cool.
All right, so moving on. We touched on it a little bit earlier in the show. We're going to talk a little bit about the election that we just experienced and some of the things that we've seen and what's on our mind. So Governor Kelly recently posted out what she's got coming up on her agenda for the next 4 years. And Zach has a pretty good speech later on about Governor Kelly and what she promised and did and didn't do in the last 4 years. So this time around, she's talking about fully funding our schools for the 5th year in a row. And when I hear that, to me, that means all of our schools. But fully funding special education has lagged for all of those years. We still haven't done it, and but it's on her goal list, her agenda to do now.
Man, that's such a low bar.
It is.
There's a school for kids to go to. Vote for me.
Did you? I mean, we're in a surplus right now with our budget. There's absolutely zero reason why special education in the state of Kansas shouldn't be fully funded. And
last I heard, we were short 1,200 teachers.
Well, that continues to be
pay
a
them
problem
more.
as well. Pay them more. Yeah, and special ed. They don't always have to be. Help those. That I think what really gets me is the long-term substitute teachers that don't have insurance, haven't gotten raises, they're stuck in that contract. They don't get paid in the summer, and we have special education and other areas that need it, and we're not doing everything we can to these people that have stuck through and through. I know long-term subs that have been at it for like 15 years here in our school district in USC 457. It's just ridiculous to me that they aren't fully certified by now for it. And so,
yeah, it seems like the solution is nobody goes, what if we pay them more? Maybe they'd come here. It's always, what if we lowered the requirements to be a teacher? What if the people who are teaching our kids barely have an education themselves? Street smarts is better than book smarts, right?
Right. So
I like them both.
We're talking about fully funding our schools for the 5th year in a row, fully funding special education, investing in early childhood programs, supporting technical and higher education, improving mental health resources. And that's the overall look at the 4 years of what she's looking forward to tackle. How do you guys feel about that?
Well, okay, so she
Overall.
did this 877 ad, right? I try to follow her Facebook stuff, so I don't know that I get everything. And so she was very definitely wanted the photo op for when that happened, and that I mean that in no way to diminish that there are resources. I don't ever want it to seem like that's not a thing that's needed, but I think we had a graphic a few weeks ago. Kansas is number 51, the worst in mental health access, and the worst. So 2 things were measured: the amount of mental illness that we have, and also the least amount of resources. So it's a double whammy. We're not here on the list of one and then here on the list of the other. We're last place.
And we're still heavily Republican controlled in our legislature. And she's talking about going in January and providing tax relief, expanding Medicaid, which has been something we've talked about over and over and over in this state and can care.
If we were going to do it, we would have done it by now.
Legalizing medical marijuana, protecting first responders, investing in mental health resources. Again, she keeps bringing up, health resources and healthier workforce.
Every single time I bring up in left-leaning circles, she hasn't moved forward on any of her campaign promises. She didn't even touch medical marijuana. And she's like, well, she can't because they have a Senate majority. And it's just okay, so why is she promising to do things that she is going to say she can't do them because of the Republicans. Why,
Mhm.
if you don't have a plan for it, why are you saying you can do it?
Mhm.
Do you know why we haven't talked about legalizing medical marijuana? Because one person will not let it go to the floor to be discussed.
And
If you
that
cannot
person
discuss
is?
a bill, you cannot vote for a bill. And if you can't vote for a bill, you can't pass a bill.
Who's that person? Who's that person? So
Masterson. Ty
Ty
Masterson.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck you, Ty
Is his
Masterson.
seat up in 2024? Like,
Yeah,
how do
but,
we get rid of that guy?
We won't.
He's not somebody that we can vote for. I think he's in District 4.
Yeah.
But yeah, because he's the leader, he gets to decide what goes to the floor.
Yeah.
And so so I try and put myself in her shoes a lot because maybe she can't do something. What would I do with the little bit of knowledge that I have? I would be running an online campaign where I go every week and I talk about. We got Senator Ty Masterson. We want to 84% of Kansas want to pass medical marijuana in some form or another, but Ty Masterson won't allow it. Ty Masterson is funded by this person. Call
I would love
them
to see
out.
a social campaign just like that. Like, if more than one of us called his office once every day to discuss medical marijuana with him, and then got other sources to do the same thing. Everybody talking about how this is the guy. I mean, like a shame campaign that's like, bro, what are you on about?
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
Maybe even play hardball with Ty himself. Have a closed door meeting with him and say, look, you can be the hero. You can be the one who brings this to Kansas.
Yeah, but now we have
Or you can
Kobach.
be the bad guy.
We have Kobach, who's totally against it as our attorney general. So, even if we did try to vote it in, much like Wichita did, and Derek Schmidt said no, Kobach's going to be fighting it the whole
You know
week.
what? Kobach will probably prosecute less marijuana cases than Chris Mann would because that's not Kobach's focus. Chris Mann said, hey,
touche.
the law has to be enforced.
Yeah.
He didn't care what that law was. He didn't care if it was unjust at all. He said, that's not my thing to decide.
Yeah.
So maybe Chris Kobach will be off chasing QAnon squirrels and leaving us the fuck alone.
Yeah. And speaking
I hope
of Chris Kobach, he did win his election for Attorney General over Chris Mann. He sent out a tweet thanking his supporters and stating that fentanyl and suing Joe Biden were going to be his focuses in his campaign.
Yep.
You know how you could help the fentanyl crisis, bro?
Build a wall.
You could legalize marijuana.
Nobody cares about those poor people.
No, we're gonna.
You could stop making it illegal for people to get test kits. Is that still
right?
Yeah.
For you to test your drugs at home? It's illegal.
Yeah. Exactly. And that's the thing with Chris Kobach is we're going to be focused on national problems and issues more so than things that are affecting us here at home and how we can solve those here at Kansas without worrying about building a border wall.
He would.
In
that
Texas.
Would be so on brand.
I don't know. Chris Kobach to me is, shows that Kansas will vote for anybody with an R behind their name, no matter what.
Exactly.
If there's no other choice, if you put that Libertarian and Independent on that ballot, Chris Kobach is not Attorney General in Kansas. There's no way.
I've always said that if I ever ran for office again, I'd do it as a Republican for the sole fact that I'd get 30% of the vote automatically.
You wouldn't even have to campaign.
No.
You don't.
Yeah, no,
just if you don't do anything.
I would probably do the same. Yeah.
Yeah, and
you would get 25 to 30% of the vote.
Yeah.
Find one of those freaking positions that nobody ever runs for.
Yeah.
It's always just that one Republican that you've never heard of and nobody else running. Just register as a Republican. Most of the Republican Party won't even care. They won't even notice.
Yeah. Yeah, and Chris Kobach recently was on Breitbart News. He was on a podcast with @Alex Marlowe. You guys, the conversation that's floating here is
I'm
very
just trying to read this, and I'm like, I don't understand
okay. So
what is being said here.
Jesse Waiters, and we have a graphic coming up with that from Fox News on election
Wait.
night, came out and was taught, or
Wait,
after election
read
night.
that out loud for people listening.
This here. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So, new podcast at Alex Marlowe continues the midterm postmortem with the question of why unmarried women went so big for Democrats. Plus Biden's latest cringeworthy press conference. Kobach shares the story of his comeback in Kansas politics, which really
Oh my
wasn't
God.
so
Why
much.
unmarried women
Yes.
swayed the election Democratic.
Now
We
there.
gotta get those women married off.
Well,
I was like, please
Well-
show how bad it got.
So that came from Jesse Waiters. Jesse Waiters was the national conversation here because he 37%, I think it was, of unmarried women under 40 voted blue down ballot this election. So
So we need these ladies to get married.
Jesse Waiters has suggested that Republican men go out and marry up all these women so they quit voting Democrat.
Hey, have
I've
you guys
heard
seen the ads
Chris
for the
Kobach
right
gave it
stuff? They
credence.
don't. That's the worst thing. That would be the worst thing for them humanly possible. Would be like to snatch to meet a Democrat, to date a Democrat. Have you seen those ads? It's the best. There's like
guys-
8 women at the end, just like, what's a big black box on the, like, what would you never do while you're dating? It's like 8 people saying, no Democrats, absolutely not.
It's amazing to me, with what's going on currently politically, the environment, the potential GOP civil war, which we're going to talk a little bit about later on in this show, and how they're targeting these young Gen Z voters that showed up in mass and outvoted baby boomers. They canceled out every baby boomer vote essentially across the nation. Gen Z, it's the largest voting segment currently in millennials, young millennials, and they're going to take over, and we're going to see a massive swing
Yeah.
in a lot of areas because of that reason.
They are not the generation to be messed with.
No.
Our generation, we did a lot of learning. We learned that the world was not what the politics portrayed it to be.
Yeah, we were still raised, like, this is how you act in society, and we were told that, adults have it figured out and that kind of shit. And I feel like
pulled
we
the
were
curtain back.
Yeah, Gen X and us, we were just like, oh, let's start telling our kids the truth.
Yeah.
And we did. We
Let's
showed
not
them the man behind the
sugarcoat it.
curtain, and the kids are like, well, what do we do about it? And we're like, I don't know.
Yeah.
He's there, though. The kids are like, well, I'm going to go kick his ass.
This is the world you're inheriting. This is why we're starting these lessons now.
Right. Between marrying off, get all these women voters, and Roe v. Wade and Dobbs, it's not a good way to attract these young women voters to your party to vote for you in the next election. So, strategy is a big thing. And there is some tension split there. And like I said, we're going to talk a little bit about more Josh Hawley and Kevin McCarthy and Matt Gaetz and all those guys later on in the show. But last night there was a big announcement, guys. It was huge. President Accordion Hands, former President Accordion Hands, has filed to run for president for the 3rd time.
No one expected that.
How excited were you guys?
Didn't he say he was going to make the announcement on the 20th? How do I know that?
No,
It was early.
He couldn't
Oh,
even
my
get
bad.
his daughter to attend. I sure as hell wasn't going to tune in.
And the best headline that I saw all day on this came from NPR, and it made me proud because it's an accurate headline, in my opinion. And it said, breaking, Donald Trump, who tried to overthrow the results of the 2020 presidential election and inspired a deadly riot at the Capitol in a desperate attempt to keep himself in power, has filed to run for president again in 2024.
Okay.
You know,
Mark my friggin' words right now. Democrats, if you don't put up a candidate that is worthy of voting for, Trump will be
Not Joe
president
Biden.
again. Trump will be president again if you don't have a competitive...
They don't know how to do anything but put Joe Biden up. If they had a way to put anybody else up by now, they would have put Pete Buttigieg up there in a heartbeat. And I don't get me wrong, I think Pete's a joke. Like if you looked up milk toast in the dictionary,
say I'm not a Pete
there's Pete
fan
Buttigieg.
either, but I would vote for him.
But the left wants him so bad. Like, and I don't mean us, the left. I mean like establishment Democrats,
the
like the Nancy
left.
Pelosi's, and the Cory Booker. Cory Booker would just love to have Pete in there.
Mm-hmm.
Those establishment Dems that are just always going to toe the party line, but Biden's not willing to step away from it, and so they're not going to get that wish, and they just have to bite that bullet. They made their bed, now they have to lie in it. Because you could have had a bad bitch, but no. We don't want no Bernie in there.
I don't think, looking at the Democrat right now so much as important as what's going to happen in the Republican primary. There's a lot of support nationally for Ron DeSantis, the new governor of Florida. He did send some jabs at Trump at his acceptance speech in an interview the day after his election. He's throwing out there that, hey, man, more Republicans voted for me than any other person in Florida ever.
I don't know if DeSantis is going to run.
I think he does.
He won pretty handily in Florida, and he's kind of riding high there right now. He's the Florida king. He's the ultimate Florida man right now.
He does get away with a lot. Listen, if I had a Republican ballot, and I'm not gonna do this, and it was the primary between Trump and DeSantis, I would vote for Trump.
Oh my gosh, really?
Yeah.
I don't know. There's a lot of, like I said, there's a lot of support out there for him. It'll be interesting to see what does happen there. There's still a lot of time.
But you see this trend, right? It's like
I think Trump gets primary.
Two extreme versions.
Oh, he's going to get primary.
What timeline are we in?
Yeah. But, I just, you're seeing a trend of Republicans turn on Trump right now. You're even seeing that on the national networks, Fox News.
That's how he got elected.
When they had the potential of Republican candidates for the primary, Trump was not on their list. It was hilarious to me. He did not make the list on Fox News for potential Republican primary opponents. I think they're looking forward to it. I think they want to take it down.
Trump makes those people the most money. They are going...
I think Trump makes himself money. He's a grifter. He sells his own hats and his
media
bumper stickers and
every time they
flags,
can hashtag Trump in the media. They make money because those stories are what people are viewing. That generates
Trump
more
makes
ads.
Money in the most scandalous ways you can imagine. Like, did you hear about how he is emailing? Who went into the runoff? Was it Herschel Walker?
Yeah.
Okay, so Herschel Walker goes into this runoff and he emails all of his supporters and says, hey, we got to help Herschel Walker. Your donation will help improve his campaign by 1,200%.
Oh, I saw that. And he makes 90%
and you click
of
to
that
the donation, and it defaults. 90% of it goes to Trump, and 10% goes to Herschel Walker. I think it's hilarious.
I recommend watching Dave Chappelle's new bit. Was that David Chappelle? And reminding us about how Trump won the first election. Like, he came out on TV and he opened the door and he said, oh, everything you think we're doing in this house, we are absolutely doing.
Yeah.
Just said it out loud and reminded us that, was it Hillary asked him or said this thing about him not paying taxes, and he said, I use the system the way the system.
I'm smart.
If you have a problem with me using these taxes this way, change the system.
And I see your point.
I hate agreeing with the guy. I hate Trump. I hate being forced to talk about him because he's in the news. But this is I'm literally watching the thing that happened the last time, and it's going to happen all over again.
I don't know. I
because
think
we're not learning.
It's a little bit different. Like last night's speech, I don't know if you guys watched it or not, but the networks carried it. Even CNN carried it, which was fair and balanced. I think that he did get some TV time because it's the president of the United States we're talking about, the position, the office, and he is announcing to run. But he, for the first time, stuck to his teleprompter. It was one of the first times I've ever seen Trump do that. He did not ad lib. There's a little bit in there, but not what Trump does. Now, when the networks cut from him, Trump went back to being Trump. But Trump was not the normal Trump because he did not want to lose those networks because they knew he was going to get cut if he went into QAnon Trump, and all that jazz. So I don't know, guys. I think he's going to get primaried. I think he's going to get primaried pretty hard. I think there's going to be a split in that Republican Party. I think he loses the primary, and I think he runs as a MAGA candidate, and we have the creation of a new party, new MAGA party, essentially, if it's called that or something else, but that's what it's going to be.
I don't think Trump is that ambitious.
I don't think it's going to be up to Trump. I think Trump's going to be forced into doing that, and he's a grifter. Of course, he's not going to give up on that money. It is a movement. It's a movement of a small segment of people in America, but they're throwing him millions of dollars.
Yeah, but most of
that's how he makes his money.
The Trump endorsed candidates lost.
That's not true. It was like 227 endorsed candidates, and 8 of them lost. And it was just they were more in the national spotlight, and they got that attention. They're the bigger names, and that's why we're hearing that narrative. But a lot of his candidates did win. Endorsed candidates, whether they accepted that endorsement and ran with it, a lot of them didn't. You didn't hear Trump really in the Kansas elections, and his policies outside of Kobach.
Yeah.
Republicans are not. I thought they were only banking on him for as long as they needed to. Exactly. So we move on, and we want to talk a little bit about that red wave. That we were told in the media that was going to happen, and then it ended up being more of a pink splash.
More a red trickle.
A red trickle, pink trickle, whatever you want to call it. The Republicans did clinch control today officially of the House of Representatives. And, and that's where this conversation grows to more, where this party is fractured and split. Here you have a guy who's fist pumping on January 6th, getting the MAGA party pumped up, ready to go, and is now claiming the old party is dead. It's time to bury it. It's time to build something new. He says he thinks you can't expect independent voters to vote Republican unless you give them an agenda that they care about, which is that is true. If you give people an agenda they care about, they're probably going to vote for you. But he's talking about Mitch McConnell. He's talking about Kevin McCarthy. He's talking about Trump. He's talking about all of it. And restarting this party. He's trying to get that stench of January 6th off of him by saying it's time to bury the old party and start something new.
You know how much money was spent before we had the damn it, I can never remember the name of something when I'm trying to pull it out of my head. The act that protected against overspending in campaigns. They spent like $32 million right before that was instated, and now this last election, almost $9 billion was spent over the last election. And at the end of the day, we're never going to get people that support us as long as we are allowing elections that involve $9 billion. People like you and I will never touch a stage like that.
Yeah.
Hell, we don't even have the money to touch the stage locally.
Yeah. Yep. It's crazy to be agreeing with Josh Hawley, but he is contesting that leadership again in the Senate GOP. He voted no against Mitch McConnell for minority leader. He wanted to wait till Herschel Walker was elected. For several reasons. One, he was opposed to Mitch McConnell and wanted more time to build that campaign against him, but he also wanted Herschel Walker to be able to participate with everybody else that got elected this cycle for minority leader. That's it's just weird to me that they're not allowing Herschel to participate, but they want you to donate to him so they can make 90% off you 10 to him. It's amazing. Yep. But you have to talk about that vote. It was 37 yes, 10 no, and 1 vote was present. That's a heavy shift in GOP voting for Mitch McConnell since he's been there. That's never been that contested.
Yeah, but as long as Mitch McConnell's willing to run, he brings in the money. So, I mean, I don't know how many terms he could possibly have left. He's looks like the damn crypt keeper. I don't know how he keeps going, but
yeah. Turtle. Well, yeah, and I think what's important though, Kevin McCarthy's not getting the same treatment in the House as McConnell did. I mean, McConnell was contested. I think it was Rick Scott who was nominated against him and did not, out of Florida, was not able to beat him. But Kevin McCarthy, they voted on him to be the candidate. He got 188 votes to 31. He needs 218 to win minority leader or House of Speaker. Matt Gaetz is out there saying we don't need Kevin McCarthy. It's a wild time for the GOP. They're so split and fractured. There's small sects coming out. They're branching out differently. I don't know, guys.
I don't know how to... It's just so dystopian and hard to talk about because the solutions aren't hard. Put people in that represent people and they'll get elected.
Well, how do we do that? It's not about putting people in, because if we were just going to put people in, that would be easy. That would be too easy. We could put the right people in. How do we get people to run is the question.
Well, that's the problem, is you can't run and support your family. You have to, if you're going to do it, you have to do it with an ill mindset where you're going to get backdoor deals and underhanded things. And that's the only reason people want to go into it. Our senators from our district make like $30,000 a year plus some stipends that add up to probably another $10,000, maybe $15,000. So $45,000 max. So you're doing this job where you are away from your family. You're in Topeka for so many months and 5 days a week, and then you get drive back and forth. And the drive to Topeka sucks. I've done it many times, and it sucks.
Yeah.
You have to pay for rent in 2 places and maintain 2 places. I don't want to clean my own damn house, let alone 2 houses.
Yeah.
So there's no incentive. If you made $120,000 a year to do it and you had the ideas, but that's the most you were ever going to make. You were never going to make a single dollar more than that $120,000. Then you would have people interested in doing it. And maybe 120 is excessive. Maybe 80,000 would do it.
120.
Right. I'm just saying that it would motivate somebody that actually cares about the issues and wants to do a good job. Because the people, the Nancy Pelosi's, the Mitch McConnells, and the Troy Unruhs, and the people who are in it to drain the funds as much as possible, $120,000 is nothing to them. They can waste that bullshit on one yacht and a few bottles of Cristal. So we got to get to a point where we're able to elect a farmer to go run the goddamn ag committee. Somebody who's actually grown something. Who are we going to put in charge of our education? How about a fucking teacher? You know, the one who's been doing it for 40 years. I bet she knows how to fix what's wrong with our education system and bring teachers in. But no, it's somebody who whatever financial group involved that wants a person, a yes man, to go be involved, they'll say, hey, you'll get $30,000 if you're elected. We'll give you another $50,000 on top of that every year that you get elected. And then if we need you to vote for something, we'll throw another tip on top of that for a few $1,000, $10,000, $20,000, whatever. Yeah. As long as you vote when we need you to.
Come give us a speech.
People that are willing to do that.
Lobbying, campaign laws, allowing corporations to file as individuals, all those kinds of things.
A great movie to watch that explains it perfectly and is very entertaining for it is Irresistible. It's written and directed by Jon Stewart, stars Steve Carell. It's absolutely hilarious, but it shows how it is an exact example of what it's like to run a big campaign, a major campaign, and how fucked up our system is. It is just wrong the way we do everything. And up until Troy Unruh, I thought it was something that happened at a state level and higher. And no, it doesn't matter what level it is. There are people on library boards that are corrupt. Yeah. They're there with a motivation.
Well, I mean, just look at our nonprofits here in town and some of the stories we've heard privately and the things that are going on there, and it's just a cesspool. You know, they're at one place and they're corrupt, and they leave that one and go to another nonprofit, and what are they going to do there? The same stuff. You know, it's miserable, but you know the pay is horrible. And, you know, we always talk about that. And when we're, you know, give them a raise, and we're always upset that they're getting raises. Well, we do need to give them raises. And I agree to term limits. But at the same time, you know, and you talk about, you know, education, putting teachers there. Well, what about Attorney General? You know, shouldn't a cop be our Attorney General since it is the top law enforcement? Or someone, a lawyer?
A lawyer, a judge, somebody with a law degree. Well, I mean, technically, Kobach has a law degree, if you want to call it that.
You do know
Crackerjack law degree.
You do know in the state of Kansas, you do not have to have a law degree to be a judge. You don't have to have a high. You don't have to have a high school diploma to be a judge.
I mean, I'm just so it's so frustrating. Because it just feels so helpless. And thanks to Amy for corroborating what I've learned. At every echelon of our society, it's corruption, and we set it up that way. It's not a bug. There's nothing to fix.
Yeah,
it's working exactly as it was designed to.
Sure. Yeah. It's time to burn it all down.
I was going to say, I guess the biggest tool we have is our ability to enact social movements, or the more that we can make sure that everybody's talking about it, whether we agree or disagree on these things, making sure that topics that are meant to be buried don't stay buried.
Yeah. You know, and speaking of, the Senate recently passed a bill 62 to 37, the Respect for Marriage Act, to advance it, to create federal same-sex marriage protections and a little bit more equality. And, you know, it sounds great. I mean, it is a huge step forward, but there are a lot of things inside of this bill that still gives same-sex couples issues in several states in the United States. First of all, it would require the federal government to recognize a marriage between two individuals if the marriage was valid in the state where it was performed. Second, the bill would guarantee that valid marriages between two individuals are given full faith and credit regardless of the couple's sex, race, ethnicity, or national origin. But, it's a big but, the bill would not require a state to issue a marriage license contrary to state law. So I believe that gives something like 29 states the power to ban outright if DOMA was over. It does repeal DOMA, but it doesn't require states to issue same-sex marriage license. So the conversation around that is if Obergefell is a case that, or a protection Supreme Court ruling, a 2015 Supreme Court ruling, if it was overturned, these 29 states could enact full-out bans on same-sex marriage. So this is what this is trying to protect the respective Marriage Act. But even if it is passed, it doesn't mean every state has to issue a marriage license to a same-sex couple.
I could understand if this is the bill that was negotiated on and what was finally the meeting in the middle of it or something. But this is what they're opening with. They're not even opening with saying, no, all marriages between two individuals in this country will be recognized on a national level and you can't supersede it. You know, they didn't introduce it that way. They put in the watered down version. They're not even willing to try to go for everything first.
Yeah,
it's lame. They didn't leave any negotiating room
at
all.
Just to give you an idea on that, all of the red states highlighted here, if you're a same-sex couple, you would have to drive to a gray state to get married.
Including frickin' Kansas.
So this is going backwards.
We are going backwards.
Okay, and so understanding.
But this does do, it forces states to recognize marriage licenses that were performed in states where they're legal, where they were married legally, where they will issue a marriage license to a same-sex couple. So it gives those couples protection if they were to move to another state or if they lived in another state.
Exactly. The only way to go from this bill is worse, and that's already terrible. We started it terrible to go to nothing at best.
Mm-hmm.
No matter where this lands, it's going to be backwards.
If they can get away with making one state, like Texas, for instance, I don't know if it means that Nebraska is worse or Texas is worse, depending on the colors, but if you could update the state law that bans it and even worse, and then now there's no protection for those people in those states. So it reads different when the Church of the Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints gave its support to a proposed federal law which recognizes all legal marriages, including ones between same-sex partners. I feel like that's what do they call it, foreshadowing? Is this like so we have the Christian movements and legislation, and then the Catholics who want to do anti-abortion, and then are they really going to come out pro same-sex marriage, or are they going to be funding states that won't allow it if this passes? You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
No, there won't be that.
The Mormon Church.
There's a separation of church and state, didn't you know? they would never cross that border.
Right. Well, I mean, the Mormon
I'm
Church,
just suspicious.
What they did was awesome, and I loved it. But they basically said, we're not going to do it. We're not doing it here. But if you do it somewhere else, that's cool. So I mean, that was kind of cool. Don't push. They're not going to push their views out on other people and force them not.
I will give any church props when they aren't proselytizing. You're right, but this feels.
What a low bar.
Well, guys, it was a great show. Coming back into it, we're going to do another. What is next week? Is next week Thanksgiving?
Yeah, it's the day before Thanksgiving.
It is. So we're going to skip next week, guys. We'll be back after Thanksgiving. We hope you guys
probably fatter than we are now.
Hopefully fatter than we are now.
I plan to.
Hope you eat all this turkey and stuffing and ham and collard greens and mashed potatoes and gravy. And
the dogs are excited.
The dogs are excited. The guinea pigs are excited.
The latest in my family, we've got a turkey chat going on.
Yes.
and a running list of a
How do
menu
you-
and.
How do you do your turkeys? Are your turkeys baked?
Well, I won't be
fried,
cooking the
are they
turkey.
smoked?
I never have before. Yeah, usually
Yeah.
baked.
You guys
My
do
dad
bake?
used to fry them.
Yeah.
I could do a whole episode on how I do my turkey. It's a delicate
Yes.
process
Yes.
that involves a whiskey brine
Yeah.
and
yeah.
a compact butter
Oh,
shoved
yeah.
under the skin and stuffed with lemons and oranges and onions and
Bruh.
then
I
I
s-
smoke it for 18 hours.
Put
I
that shit on
started.
Pinterest.
I started spatchcocking my birds.
Sir, what?
Hey, we're a R-rated show here, sir.
We stop at mild pornography, even though
Well,
audio
it's a real thing.
erotica.
So when you cut
Okay,
the back,
explain it.
When you cut the back out of the chicken and you lay it, or the turkey, and you lay it flat instead of cooking it as the birds. That's called spatchcock.
On the grill?
On the grill. Or in the oven.
Yum. I'd try
Takes-
that. I'd
it
try
takes
that. My
half the
grill's not
time.
big enough. Oh,
Takes
I
half
bet.
the time to cook, and so it's a lot more juicy and more
Yum.
flavorful, in my opinion.
Would try.
Yeah.
You know what my guilty pleasure is? After Thanksgiving, watching all of the videos of people
Yes.
who tried to fry a turkey.
Oh, God.
I love finding that
No,
contemplation
I
on
hate
YouTube.
that
Yeah.
stuff.
You know,
I'm
I've
just
got a
like-
turkey fryer, and I did it for a lot of years. It's fun. But God, people do it outside. Do
Y'all,
not do it
here's your
inside.
reminder. Take your turkeys out of your fridge. It's a day per
Yeah.
pound, right? Or something
That's
like that.
right.
So
Yeah,
you need to take
well.
your turkeys out of your freezer.
At least a week. Yeah, by now. Anyway, tomorrow's
And
It's
if
better
you're
to sit there
making-
for 2 days or 3 days cool and
Yeah.
thawed than
If you're
it is to
making-
try and thaw it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
if
if you're
you're
frying
making,
one, make sure there is no ice in that bird.
Yes,
whatsoever.
God, please. Make sure
Yeah.
it's thawed. If you're doing stuffing, gluten-free stuffing, and you have to air dry your bread, here's your public service announcement as well.
I hope you get all the real stuffing in the world. I hate stovetop. Who's with me?
Yeah.
Real stuffing.
I think we're gonna have it. It's on the menu too, but that's because
You
I
have
don't know
to
if you've
have it
seen
there.
gluten-free bread loaves. It's like this. It'll
If
be
you
like
want gluten-free stuffing, just do cornbread instead of regular bread.
I know, but I want it to be, like how you would otherwise make your stuffing, but without the stovetop or whatever.
If it doesn't involve the smoker, I don't know how to do it.
Yeah, that's it. I like to get my bake on, so.
I saw
That's
a
my
meme the
favorite
other
part.
day when you turn 35 or 40, you either get in real deep to World War II history or smoke some meat. And we have definitely chose that meat smoke.
You know what? World War II history isn't feeding anybody.
No.
It's mental food. All right, guys, that's our show. Thanks for tuning in. If you like what you hear, please smash that like button, hit subscribe, and share.
Thanks for being here, true believers.
Happy Turkey Day.
Happy Turkey Day.
Next
Bye.
Twip, twip. Twip, twip, twip.
Gobble, gobble, gobble.
Well, test. Better. We'll take a minute to envision it in the vision. We're ripping from a difference of opinion. Inquisitive, isn't it? When the picture in the mirror isn't shit, but give it a minute. Fix this image and hit the brick with the viciousness. But don't play, cause one day you'll be saying you shoulda, coulda, woulda, but my shit it just wouldn't drop. Cause you wouldn't have, but you're so worried. It was your world. And when you hit them with the rhymes, they had no words. Just come back to the flip of the tongue fun that you once had and chuck it like a beer and crush that. Go shave your mustache and write it down, cut that. And so much rap again. Oh, I'm getting tired of that. I don't know anymore what they call that. Getting so you know that something's missing. Let's go show 'em what rap is again. Like taking a step out of your front door for the first time and you want more of the sunshine, but you've been locked away, forgetting you don't care. Listen, it's not part of the mission. Just say what you got to say. Whether it makes sense, just a bunch of gibberish, bit from the hip, slipping so soft, but splitting your lip. You get a grip, cause as good as your shit is, you know it really isn't a big deal. Cause it'll turn heads down too. It's your purpose, round two. But you gotta open your eyes and realize it's right here. To open your mind, you gotta try to fight fear and find a light bright enough to ignite and excite peers. But get their attention, I find. You gotta give them a big boom. You're the fuel, and I got my lighter right here. I'm getting tired of that. I don't know anymore what they call rap. Getting so you know that something's missing. Let's go show 'em what rap is again.